We had the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks facing each other at Madison Square Garden. The Brooklyn Nets, you know, they're trying to maintain positioning in the play-in so that way they don't have to play 2 games. And that way they could try to get home court advantage as well. Knicks are looking to play upset tonight. And so that's what we had at the beginning of the first quarter, right? We saw the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets coming in, having a good battle, going toe-to-toe. Knicks would lean on the backs of Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, and R.J. Barrett in the first quarter to get a 29 and 25-point lead. But then the fourth quarter would come around, right? And sadly, in a blink of an eye, the Knicks' 10-point lead that they had in the third quarter would be diminished thanks to good shooting from Patty Mills, Seth Curry, and Kyrie Irving. And unfortunately, the Knicks would lose 110 to 98. This was a tough one, man. This was a tough one. I wasn't expecting much out of this game. I wasn't expecting the Knicks to come out being victorious, but the way that it started, I was a little encouraged. I was hopeful. I was hopeful to think that these young guys would start, you know, showing some more life towards the end of the season to even get us more optimistic heading into next season, especially if they're able to pull back all these veterans from the roster, right? But it was that third quarter, man. I don't know why we like to do it. As I said, like, I don't know why we like to go away from playing a fast-paced offense, because you saw it was working, especially for Obi Toppin, right? He was getting out there, hitting his shots, moving, cutting. Dude played really well tonight. He went 7 for 13, had 19 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 3 blocks. Was okay to good on the defensive end, but offensively, that's where he was making his bread and butter. And then, you know, you thought you were going to have fourth quarter Burks today by the way he showed up, but dude started getting a little too cold towards the end of the game. And then RJ, yikes. Just a big old yikes, man, because he started off good and then he would just go cold, man. He would go cold in the second half, but that's what happens when we start going half-court offense, bro. But
the game starts. It's the Brooklyn Nets. It's Kevin Durant. It's Kyrie Irving, right? It's ESPN. They had the black and white, I guess, on ESPN2, kind of giving you a little old school look on the other side of the stream. And then, you know, the Nets were playing for something. You know, the Nets control their destiny. I think if they win out, they clinch the 7th seed. So this was due to be a competitive game. This was a game to look forward to, you know, with some of the young players on this team building momentum, building confidence. So all that together, and you see why there's fans that are saying that tonight is annoying. There's fans that are frustrated. Even in game 80, when the Knicks are not making the playoffs, there was still a lot of passion left, a lot of passion at the arena, passion online, passion on Twitter, as we all know. And so, you know, like you mentioned, after that first half, I mean, you talk about the tale of two halves, man. I think the Knicks scored like 31 points in the second half, but in the first half, they looked like a totally different team. You know, even Burks himself had 18 points in the first half. The Knicks were playing well, but I think the difference, as you saw, is the style of play. You know, in the first half, you know, Obi himself, this was the first legit game where I even saw the guards looking for Obi in the paint. And that's not really something new. How many times before tonight have we seen Obi have a mismatch on the guard? He goes right under the basket. He has his hands up and we don't look for him or we miss him. Tonight, you saw multiple times we threw the ball down low. He got a foul. He got a bucket. So I was excited about that. You know, Obi having that awareness, Obi having some aggressiveness. There was a play with Obi where even Durant had a great defensive play, had a block, but I still like the approach. I like the aggressiveness. You know, a year from now, we're going to critique that play and we're going to hope that he creates separation by putting a body on Kevin Durant. But this year, my evaluation of a play like that is I like that aggressive mindset. So Obi was definitely a positive tonight, and it only makes you think, Alex, what could have been. He's proven to himself, forget about what we think. He's proven to himself that in his mind, he's probably thinking, I can start in this league. So now you're going into year 3, and I pretty much, you know, this offseason, I know him and his agent are going to talk about, with the Knicks, what direction are we going here?
Like, what do you want from Tom Thibodeau going into next season to encourage you?
Don't jack with Obi. I've never forgiven him for that. And he made some comments about Obi, and you can see how crazy those comments were. He swore him down. Obi couldn't play. I watched that kid play every game in college. I went to every one of his home games. I went to every home game. I saw him play every game. The boy can shoot. He can run. He is really straight up, where he's, doesn't have a lot of flexibility, but he hustles so hard, he makes up for it. I thought he played a great defensive night tonight. The thing that I like about those kids, and this is one thing that Tibbs doesn't understand, is those kids are enthusiastic and energetic. And, that would have won the game for us tonight if we'd have been able to close out that fourth quarter.
Like, I understand that not wanting to sell low on Randall. Like, I get it. I totally agree. Like, that makes sense. But at the same time, if you bring Randall back next year and he repeats this, you're only going to be selling lower. And that you definitely cannot do. And so, like, you have to figure out some move this offseason to get Randall into a different situation. He needs a change of scenery. It's just not going to work out in New York. You got to move on. You can't sell lower on him, because if he comes back next year and he repeats this crap, you're not going to get anything for him. You have to sell him for a Pop-Tart. Like, it's not going to be good. And so you got to move on from him. And if you are, I've heard these talks about, like, possibly for a Jeremy Grant. No way. Jeremy Grant's a good player. I like him. But if you're moving on from Randall, Obi has to move into the starting role, and you have to see what you have. Pick this dude in the lottery. You have to actually see what you have with Obi. Is he a starting power forward in the NBA? I think so. I think he's a future hyper-athletic version of the Morris twins. This season, the way it's gone, is less on the front office as it is on Tibbs and Randall. The front office this offseason, they put together, minutely, barely, but a better roster on paper than last year's. Without question, everyone said that in the offseason. Oh, look, the Knicks got a little bit better. Let's see how it works out. It hasn't worked out. Most of it has been on the fact that Julius has played terribly. Tibbs hasn't held him accountable and hasn't made adjustments. Don't blow 5 20-plus second-half leads if you're even a halfway decent team. And this team is a halfway decent team. And with Derrick Rose, like, without a doubt, this team has 8, 9, maybe even 10 more wins than it does right now. And everyone's looking at this season differently because you're 44, whatever wins, you're in the play-in in a stacked Eastern Conference. It's totally different. But it may be a blessing in disguise that Derrick Rose got injured, because now you got quickly developing at the point. So this offseason, the front office has to force Tom Thibodeau's hand. You have to get rid of a good portion of these vets, because you cannot have Alec Burks taking up 40 minutes a game next year. You can't have Evan Fournier taking up minutes for Cam Reddish, because you're not going to find out what you have in Cam Reddish if you don't play him. So the front office this season, if you're not going to actually make a move for a star, you have to force Tom Thibodeau's hand and get rid of these vets, man.